Hey everyone, David here again, this time with another squad leader tutorial, if you will. And this one comes by request and talks specifically about how infantry can engage with AFVs. So I'll talk about how infantry do this using the squad leader rules, which are apply all the way up through to and beyond Crescendo of Doom, if I'm not mistaken. The rule reference is Rule 36 in the original squad leader book. I've got the 4th edition here. I will not cover carrying weapons and so forth because those are special cases. For example, Panzerfaust, bazookas, etc., even demo charges, those are all different and they aren't really specifically infantry. This is what an infantry unit without anti-tank weapons can do to protect themselves against tanks. There are two methods to engage tanks by infantry in Squad Leader. The first one is the defensive fire phase method. Anybody that's attacked in this method by infantry squads have to be, first of all, in a non-open ground hex, such as a wheat field, woods, building, and so forth. They have to hit the tank has to be in the adjacent hex, such as this T-34 is. And you will note I use a cross of iron T-34 because the rule is the same at that level as it is in the basic game. So basically, two things have to happen. First of all, the infantry have to pass what's called a Pre-Afv attack morale check. Simply a morale check, leader adjusted if there happens to be a leader there. Failing this morale check does not break them. All it does is says that they've gathered up the required guts in order to engage the tank. We have a 4, 6, 7 here. We'll assume that they make a roll and let's see what happens. They rolled a 6. This means they can now attack this tank. We'll assume the tank was using the road trying to pass them, and that infantry squad there was there to defend the road. The Soviets tried to bypass the squad and just keep going. But the squad has mustered up enough courage, and they're going to try to immobilize this AFV. Let's talk about how this is done. Success or failure of the attack depends on the location of the firing units as well as their composition. If it's a leader only, the die roll required is a 2. If it's a squad in a wheat field, it requires a 2 as well. If it's in a small building, a shell hole, or an entrenchment, it needs a 3. But if a squad is in a woods or large building, they need a 4. If they roll this number or less, then the AFV will be immobilized. Let's roll and see what happens. We can see here that fortune favored the German squad this time. They rolled a 3, which immobilized the AFV. Again, we're assuming at the cross of iron levels, and we're using the supplemental rules that talks about the morale level of vehicle crews. This is key because that AFV now has to take a morale check. If they fail, they have to bail out and they're subject to defensive fire. If they do not fail, they get to stay inside the tank. Let's roll the morale check. Cross of Iron supplemental rules state that the morale of a Soviet crew in a T-34 is 7. They've rolled 7, they get to stay inside. So the defensive fire phase is over, and this squad has been successful in immobilizing this tank. Now let's talk about the second method for infantry versus AFVs. This is the close combat phase method. AFVs can be attacked in this method by infantry who can advance onto that during their advance phase. Noting that the defensive fire phase was in the Soviet player turn, the squad will have to wait until the next turn before they can try to get in. We'll assume that nothing has passed, neither has destroyed each other, and now we're at the next turn, German turn, and it's now the advance phase. Before they advance, the German squad has to take another Pre-Afv attack morale check. Basically, it's a normal morale check. If they fail it, there's no penalty, but they cannot advance into the hex. Let's roll and see what happens. Yes, of course they passed. If they failed, well, there wouldn't be a reason to do this video. So of course they passed. They passed their Pre-Afv morale check, or Pre-Afv attack morale check, excuse me. And now they can enter the hex and they're going to conduct close combat. Let's do that now. They've moved into close combat, and using the up to the cross of iron level rules, there are a number of DRMs which could affect their attack. Essentially, the squad is attacking the tank, and the tank cannot shoot back. There are exceptions to this. For example, The Tiger and the Panther, if so equipped, can attack any infantry that are attacking them with what they call the Nahverteidigungswaffe, or the Schnuggiwuffer. Basically, it was a close defense weapon system that was used, but we'll ignore that for now. In order to destroy the tank, they're going to try to destroy the tank, the infantry squad has to roll a die roll equal to or less than their firepower. 4.67s aren't as good as 8.38s or 6.28s, but they're going to roll and see what happens. Let's roll the dice. Rotten luck for the Germans. They almost did it, but in this case, they have to move. So we have to see what happens. Well, the attack was unsuccessful, but the squad does not remain in the hex with the tank. At the end of the close combat phase, if they have not destroyed the tank, they return to the hex from whence they came. We'll do that now. The infantry squad has returned to hex X1 inside the stone building, and it's the end of the close combat phase, and next turn is on to the Soviet turn. Let's conclude. The procedure I just went over pretty well lumps up how infantry attack vehicles of any kind in the defensive fire phase method and in the close combat phase method. Point to note, if you are playing with the Cross of Iron level rules, there are some dice roll modifiers that would apply. The rule is 72.8. It refers, basically open-topped AFVs have a -1 DRM to this attack, and trucks and other non-buttoned up tanks are considered open-top. If it's against a tank or an AFV without a manned functioning MG, it's another -1. So there you go. And there are some other things. For example, that some Soviet tanks have machine guns that are the rear of the turret. They can use those in close combat. They can actually fire back. Anyway, so as you progress in the rules will alter. But basically, what I've just went through is what would happen in any close combat, any infantry versus AFE or any type of vehicle for that matter. Point to note, had the attacking infantry been successful, the crew would not survive. They would essentially just perish with the tank, so there's no further close combat. And at the end of the close combat, as you can see, they've moved back to their hex. All right, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. And if you're interested, if you have any other questions or requests, Cross of Iron, Advanced Squad Leader, just send them below. Thanks.